Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Now, I'm here with my producer, Joe. And, you know, Joe, the Super Bowl is coming up. Now, I'm probably going to watch it at home, or we're going to go to my brother-in-law's. But a lot of people are going to bars, and I like to go to bars, and there's always good appetizers. And I think one of my favorites is I really dig the potato skins. What's your go-to at a bar when you want to get an appetizer?
Potato skins. That's a good one, Coop. You know, I'm gonna stick with the potato theme because I'm a big French fry guy and a big tater tot guy. Those would probably be my go-tos. Love me some good French fries. And then there was another one that I was thinking of too, but I can't remember it right now. But yeah, fries and tots.
Right. Well, and also tell me, because I said fries and tots are good and mozzarella sticks are good. But what's good about SuiteRecording? Tell the viewers a little about the studio here.
Absolutely. SuiteRecording is a content recording studio in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, where we help brands and businesses to leverage the power of podcasts, LinkedIn video, and other video and audio content. So podcasting is obviously, you know, a great tool for generating a lot of content like video clips, blog posts, newsletters, and more. But it's also great for business development, kind of like the way the Coop uses it, where he brings together people from his network, he strengthens those connections, and he shares his platform with his peers. So there's a lot to podcasting when you look at it through the lens of business. I would love to talk with you about it and how we can use it for your business. So contact us anytime at hello@suiterecording.com or visit us on the web at suiterecording.com. That's SUITE. Take it away, Coop.
All right, before we get started, I have a great panel today, but I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Laurel Lanes. You know, Laurel Lanes is the ultimate entertainment center. They have 60 lanes of bowling, they have a state-of-the-art arcade games, and they have a private luxury suite. Basically, they have something for everyone, and it's great for corporate events, birthday parties, or just a night out with their friends. They also have a great restaurant called Splits Bar and Grill, and that's where I host Cocktails with Cooper once a month. And you know, if you host a networking event there, your first time they'll give 10% back of the sales to your charity of choice. It's got a great happy hour weekdays from 4 to 7, and during the month they have different great events like karaoke, beer pong, and trivia. So check them out. And on your way out, stop by Lickety Splits. That's their ice creams, the little ice cream stand. They have homemade concoctions, and some have booze. And I've had the butter pecan bourbon, and it's very good. So please go to Route 73 in Maple Shade. That's Splits Bar and Grill and Laurel Lanes, or check them out on their email at laurelLanesNJ.com. Anyway, I have a good show today. I'm excited. Two of these people I only met for like 15 minutes at Cocktails with Cooper and Splits. The other guy's been on my show a whole bunch of times. And my first panelist is from Cruice Photography, John Cruise. Welcome back, John.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate coming back. Do I get a jacket now? Is this like an SNL thing where I get like a... Yeah.
5 when you do 5.
When I do 5, okay.
And then from Tasfil Publishing, we have Lisa Shiroff. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and finally from Bratton Estate and Elder Care Attorneys, we have Linda Amorosia. How you doing, Linda?
I am doing great. Thanks. Excited to be here with everybody.
All right. John, tell us a little about your company and what you do.
So I am a portrait photographer. So I focus specifically on people. And really my like specialty is that I tell stories. So I sit down with them, I hear their story, whether it's for artwork for their home, like for families, or for businesses if they need to tell their story in images for branding. I do that too. So it's translating their story, getting it down to 1,000 words, and then creating images out of them.
Okay, Lisa, I'm really wondering about what you do for Tasfil Publishing because it looks fascinating. What is your company? What do you do?
So I'm what you call an author services provider and a concierge publisher. And so what that is if you want a book, because most people nowadays want a book to prove they're the expert. They wrote the book on whatever the topic is. It's like a business calling card. And but they don't know how to write, or they're too busy to write, but they have the ideas. So I connect them with a ghostwriter, or I ghostwrite, or a develop editor if they need somebody to help with what they already wrote. And we get their book completed. And then I also have the concierge publishing option, which is where I help them if they choose to go self-publishing, which everybody should, to get their book polished, beautiful covers, and distributed worldwide.
Okay. And how about you, Linda? Tell me a little about what you do and what Bratton is all about.
So, keeping with kind of the same message, I basically say I'm a translator, but instead of languages, I really translate legal jargon into real people talk. So, my job at Bratton is to connect with professionals. I set up events, we educate people on what we do, and referring to us is as easy as offering or ordering a favorite cup of coffee. So, kind of a matchmaker, connecting people and helping them understand the journey along this exciting life, and it's not always easy. So that's basically helping with some headaches.
I like this panel. You all help people, and that's good because sometimes you get people who just want to sell, sell, sell. But this, everyone helps each other, and it's as and before we got on air, Linda said it's such a eclectic panel. Everyone's so different what they do, and so Lisa, what was your path? I mean, how did you end up being a self-publisher and what you do? Because self-publishing only became big a little while back.
Right. I used to joke that I have two skills in life. I can make a cocktail and I can create a book. You have to work weekends if you become a bartender. So I went the book route. And for years, I was a freelance writer. I've worked on basically every side of the publishing process you could work on. I've been with traditional publishers. I've edited. I've coached. I did a little bit of everything. And back in 2017-ish, I went full-time with a company that does what I do. It was called Scribe Media. And I became a manuscript creative with them, which is kind of where you supervise ghostwriters and you fix books when there's a problem and basically just get the book done and make sure that everybody is on track, a project manager for the book's getting done, kind of. And they went under in May of 2023. And so I knew people who still needed to get their books done and developed my company to service those people and have been running ever since.
All right. And how about you, Linda? Now, I see you on LinkedIn. You're out a lot because you're in business development. But how did you end up in what you do now? How did you end up at Bratton? What was your path to that?
So I come from an interesting path of a single mom raising 3 children for a really long time, then got into cosmetics. I worked for Nordstrom for a really long time, but my connection was always with people. Everybody would always talk, and I always wanted to help people. So I volunteered for hospice. I did a lot of, and I still continue to do, support a lot of charities and a lot of causes. And I think just in life, as you project out what you want to do and talking to people and connecting, it just sort of all falls into place. So I worked for hospice. I worked in healthcare, and one of those things of law of attraction just got me into Bratton Law. So I've kind of reached that peak in life where everything I have done has manifested into this, which is continuously doing all the fun things. Like if somebody said, what do you do? I call myself party in a box, because not only do I help with events, but I'm connecting people and I have a positive energy and just always trying to help. And my husband's always like, if you have any money like left between what you give away and do all your things, it would be nice. But I really truly have a passion just for helping people. In Bratton Law, we just educate people because people really just don't want to talk about a lot of things. Like, this is fun, right? We're talking today eagles and food and books and wine, Lisa. I'm right there with you. But to get to where people are having these really difficult conversations, talking about the next path, we're all going to head over to the Golden Bridge. And it's just really how you get there and make sure you're protecting your assets and just having those conversations that are really hard for people, but making sure you understand. If you plan that piece of life, it's the same kind of as planning a vacation. It's just much easier for you and for your families. So
okay.
That's
well, that's good. That's you're a helper, and that's good. You're a party in a box. She's a party in a box, Joe. I like that. I want to be a party in the box, but she already has the title. John, tell us I know your path, but tell the viewers your path, because I've drank with you, so I know your whole story.
Yeah, my path, similar to Linda, is all over the place. So I have degrees in business and architecture. Architecture was my first major, and then it was my second degree. And I was going to go make buildings. I was working at Vanguard, the investment company at the time. And then the financial collapse happened, and my architect friends all got laid off. And photography was just a hobby. It was just like, all right, I'm not in school anymore. I don't have all these projects. I have all this new free time. So I take my camera that I use for architectural projects and just start walking around the city and just taking photos of the city. And then like with Instagram, I started to like get into portraits, and then it was storytelling. It was the first time that it actually felt like design again. I wasn't just waiting for something to happen. We were orchestrating a narrative. And then I just started getting noticed and requests and published and awards, and like, all right, this is something I could do full time. And so in 2019, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave corporate. I'm gonna do this. It is an opportunity for me. It's like Linda was saying, like just talking to people. I get to talk to a lot of people, and then I get to get into their story, and then I get to make it into something. So for me, that's where like the magic happens. It's like learning about somebody and then actually like making it into a piece of art.
Okay. Now, Linda, you seem very happy. All paths took you to Bratton.
Yeah.
What is it that you really love about your job? Because so many times people say they love their job or they like their job. And you say, well, what is it you love? And they're like, oh, they can't say. So what is it that you love about, what you do at Bratton?
Well, we'll start with this opportunity right here. It's connecting with people and realizing, stepping outside your comfort zone, because it's always hard when you walked in. I remember coming into your happy hour event. I'm like, oh gosh, I really don't know anybody. And I think it's when you're connecting with people, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's almost like somebody's giving you a present every day. I get a present and I'm like, what is in that box? And who am I going to meet? And who do you know that I know? And how are we going to help each other? And where do you want to be? And where do you want to go? And that to me is probably the most exciting. So again, I feel really blessed in life that everything I've done has brought me to this. So everything I do, talking, having a passion for how I can help people. When I know that we've helped it, that's like the extra cherry on the top of the ice cream. So that is how I feel.
That's awesome.
Happy. Like, don't even like, I'm just happy all the time. So I'm one of those that just takes the day, and it could be a terrible day. It could be raining out, but I always look for the positive piece. So that's where I'm at. And that's my job, to make everyone happy.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. If the Eagles lose the Super Bowl, which I don't think they are, and you post something happy on LinkedIn, I'm losing. We're not connected anymore, because you better be pissed off of the Eagles. You can't get any happiness if the Eagles lose a Super Bowl.
So why would you even put that out into the?
Because you have to, just because it's conversation.
You
host.
see what's over my head?
I know. I see. I'm just saying. So, okay, we're going to see. Hopefully we'll all be out and it'll be great. And anyway, so John, what do you love about your job?
Very similar. Like what I get to do. I never outgrew curiosity. So I have the curiosity of a child, right? And I like to learn. And every conversation I have, I get to learn something new. I meet people from different backgrounds, different industries, things that I do not have expertise in. That's enjoyable to me, is to learn those things about everybody's individual story. And so that's kind of the juice that makes me go, is like learning something new every day, and every conversation is an opportunity to learn.
Okay. How about you, Lisa? What is it that you love about Tasfil?
Kind of piggybacking on what John and Linda said, that whole learning thing. I remember when the professor on Gilligan's Island would say, I took a course in radio building, and I took a course in sand sculpture or whatever. I find myself going, oh, you know what? I once wrote a ghost book on that, or I edited a book on that. I feel like I'm constantly learning from everybody that I meet, and I meet some really amazing and interesting people who they could be writing what they think might be a boring book. It's just, on finances or law, or what they think is an interesting part of their life history, but they don't know if anybody else will think it's that way. I love helping them pull out who they really are, and that satisfaction of when you see how like they're glowing and they're so happy and they're like, oh my God, I did this and this is my book. I love that. It's amazing. And in the process, I learned so much about people and just everything. It's the coolest thing.
Okay, I'm going to stick with you for this question because you told me what you love about your job. What challenges do you face with your job? I'm not going to say what you don't like about your job because when you talk to people a lot of times that run their own business or whatever, they say, well, I hate doing paperwork, and they say the same things. But for you, what challenges do you face in your position?
Well, so my position, I say I'm the CEO, the CFO, the COO, and I'm also the chief animal support person. Um, Especially what I really find interesting is the more successful somebody is, the closer you get to their publishing deadline, the more vulnerable they feel because this is something that they cannot control. And that is sometimes the toughest part of the process. I'll be working with them and their team sometimes, or if they have a big PR push going through, and then they're like, yeah, no, can't do it. Can't put this book out there. And which is funny to me. I mean, I was working with a guy who had just sold his company for $650 million. One would think he's got things figured out, he's secure, he's confident. But when it came to getting that book on that publishing date, he was like, no, I can't do it. He was worried about an aunt complaining about the foul language he used. He was worried about bad reviews he couldn't control and that would upset his children because it's a very vulnerable thing. And people don't realize that until that moment in time. And I try to prep for that and I try to coach them through it. But that it's just, it's an unfortunate thing, but it's something I can't always control. And I usually get them over the finish line and they're always happy in the end. But there is that brief moment in time where people are just like, oh my God, I can't do it. I changed my mind.
Okay. How about you, Linda? What challenges do you face in your job?
That there's not enough hours in a day to get things done, that my brain is always on. And sometimes I think it's hard to shut it down because when you do love what you do and you love looking forward to things or things get that brain going and they get that adrenaline going, it's really hard to shut that down. So I would say that's my biggest one. And I would say the other piece of it is really getting the message across of what's important in getting your documents and what's a POA and there's a no next of kin law in New Jersey and just all these messages that people just, again, they cover their ears. They almost make you think we're talking about sex. That's times.
Well, that's always a good thing to talk about. John, what is something that that challenges you?
It's something very silly and simple, but like just the word photographer in most people's minds denotes that they know what I do. And I do something very different than like other photographers. But like most introductions is I got to spend at least 10 minutes explaining to them I don't do weddings, I don't do events. I'm not going to come to your kid's birthday party. Like I'm not doing any of those things. And then get into like the things that I actually do. But like sometimes it just makes the conversation awkward. So I've actually been at networking events, been introduced myself as photographic artist because then they ask me what that is because they don't know what that is rather than photographer because they assume they know what that is.
Okay. So, inspiration is something we all look for. We all look to get inspired. When I hear a great song, it inspires me to create. When I had a show the other night and just, it was stand up, but I heard a song that just got me into creative mode and I wrote some material. And, John, what inspires you, John? What is something that really kicks your ass into gear because you're inspired by it?
In terms of like photography, like
just in life.
Oh, in life, it could be, usually it's a conversation. Usually it's something about like somebody is telling me something about them that like triggers, oh, you could do this, like, or you could go here. It gets into that creative spiral. Even before photography, when I was working at Vanguard, I was working in web design. Like that was kind of my MO, was to wander around the office. I would wander around from desk to desk and just kind of like get ideas from people as it combined the things I was working on. Because like whatever they were succeeding in or struggling with, like those would give me ideas for the project I was working on. And so like that was just the way that I kind of I get ideas from other people.
Okay. How about you, Lisa?
A little bit of everything. I'm like the ADHD poster child where my brain is constantly going in a bazillion different directions. Linda, when you said it was hard sometimes to stop it and shut things off, I hear you. I feel that pain. But it's also kind of a gift because I never get bored. And I am really, I could just be walking to my mailbox at the end of my driveway and I'll be like, oh my God, that leaf just reminded me of something. I'm constantly being inspired by just about everything because I'm really curious and I don't know. I just things trigger things in my head. It's just a nonstop, oh, there's an idea kind of thing.
Okay. How about you, Linda?
Well, I have 12 squirrels that live in my head and they are constantly moving. So, Lisa, when you said the leaf on the ground, it could be as simple and crazy as that. There's just things that pop up, and then I go, oh, well, I can make a social media post. How do I blend that into my life? And how do I give people ideas? And oh, I ran out of cream at half and half. How do I make that? Just silly things. And then I always have music on. Always, 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 always have music on. I mean, I came from the disco-y kind of days, so I love that music, but I'm very inspired by music. But even as simple, Lisa, as you said, a leaf on the ground, I'm right with you.
It's funny with music. I was driving yesterday and dropped a bomb on you, baby. Came on from the Gap band, and it's such a great song. Whenever you hear that, you crank it up. It's got that feeling. It's awesome. So I've come to the conclusion that all of your brains never shut down. Okay, I know that your brains don't shut down. So I'm going to ask you this, and be honest. And it's all the questions are just questions. We're going to start with you, Lisa. Since your brain doesn't shut down and we all overthink. When your brain doesn't shut down, you overthink. How do you overcome self-doubt? Because I think everybody goes through that. People don't want to admit they go through self-doubt. Some of us, I mean, I would wake up in the middle of the night going, holy shit, what if all of a sudden I'm not making any money? I'm going to become homeless. Or you just, and your mind goes, and then you're tossing and turning. And a lot of people don't know how to overcome it. I just try to go back to sleep. Someone told me to count backwards. So I start counting backwards from 50, but I think I sort of have ADD because I get to like 38 and I think it's something else and I can go back and start again. And I always go, Jesus Christ, I can never do this right. So how do you overcome self-doubt? Because if your mind overthinks it, you've woken up in the middle of the night with that thoughts.
Can I say gummies for that middle of the night waking up business? Aside from that, you really just have to remind yourself that this is actually a green flag. Because if you never have self-doubts, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you think you know more than you actually know. And that's when you make a lot of mistakes. And that's when you really tick people off. And that's when things kind of go to hell. When you have that self-doubt, you just got to go, okay, this is good. It means I have a healthy ego. It means that I'm just going to slow down and maybe double think things through a little bit. And the whole, I would love to say I'm a brilliant meditator. I try to meditate every day, but that whole, squirrel thing in the business doesn't really help. But I will make myself journal and I'll just freehand write out, everything that I can't do this. I suck at that. Oh my God, I did a shit job on that and whatever. And I run through all of my failures. And then I'm like, well, actually, this turned out fine. And I kind of go back with, well, what went well on these things that I thought that I was horrible on? Because something always goes right with everything. Even if you just learn something, that's something that went right, And then so you I journaled down until I hit like, oh my God, I'm a waste of a human being. And then I work myself back up and it feels pretty good. It's a cathartic thing.
Okay. How about you, Linda? How do you, because you got 12 squirrels and one of them's got to be self-doubtful. I mean, what do you do when you wake up with self-doubt?
Well, it's taken me years because I always was one of those that could never figure out how to feel better. I'd always see these self-help books and I would always go to the back of the book. I'm like, all right, what's the ending to the story? How do I figure this out? And I self-taught myself meditation. I self-taught myself that contrast is good, because if you don't know what you want, if there's things that are not good in life, it makes you think, I don't want that, but I do know what I want. So it's just teaching yourself and coming back quicker. And I do meditate, Lisa, and I have probably the 13th squirrel that wakes up in the middle of the night, Steve. And the counting backwards, I do the same thing, but it's learning how to just deep breaths and really just coming back quicker from some of these doubts that we have. We all have them. It's just how you recover quicker, and staying positive in the music, and just learning whatever, if you journal like Lisa does, but just learning how to almost take care of yourself, which I don't feel that growing up we learned that. There was religion, but then sometimes that's part of always feeling like you have to depend on somebody, and then finally learning to go within yourself, almost like that game operation, where those little things you go, you hit the heart and you hit the, just learning to go within yourself and be like, okay, this is good. Everything happens for a reason. I am where I'm supposed to be. Windows closed, doors open. And then if you reflect back, of all of us reflect back on our lives, everything we've done has brought us to this place, to where we are at today. So that is how I have the 13th squirrel and the party in the box going.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned Operation. Do you remember the game Mousetrap? Like you lose a piece, and then you couldn't play. Like it was this ball would go around, and it would hit a mouse in the trap, and a guy would jump in a pool, and you put it all together. And if you lost one piece, you were fucked, because all of a sudden, like, you couldn't play because the ball would just like drop. But that Operation gave me flashbacks and self-doubt about playing Mousetrap. So, John, how do you deal with self-doubt?
So, I mean, I'm going to preface this. I guess it depends on how you define self-doubt. I know what I can excel at, what I'm capable of, and what I can't do, right? I know those things. So I don't necessarily experience self-doubt. It's just that I haven't learned it yet. But if it's like, let's say like creatively, I am just not up to my standards, like photography-wise. What I usually do is kind of like like Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry doesn't hit every shot, and he'll go through cold streaks, but he keeps shooting, right? I do the same thing with photography. I'm going to like just create bad stuff, because then I can then critique it. And when I go into critic mode, then I can start to think, okay, these are the things I hate, and this is why. And then my brain will start to, okay, how would I fix this? And then I can usually get myself. So you got to go through the process of like being graceful and allowing yourself to put out bad work. Not necessarily like for a client, but like get through it because it's in your head. So I guess that's how I do it. But like, if it's something like, it's either I'm able to do it or I haven't learned it yet. That's kind of how I approach life.
Okay. So I want to talk about goals, and it's funny because it's 2025, and I'm thinking about it because the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Like, you all plan, and then all of a sudden you want to plan your year, and then you go, the Eagles win, and you go, the playoffs start, you go, oh my God, and you're thinking towards like the middle of January. You're thinking if they make the Super Bowl. So like, the whole those weeks are gone because you're thinking about the Super Bowl. But that being said, goal-wise, John, do you have any? Have you set goals for 2025? Are you a goal setter? And if so, what's one of your goals?
So I have. I am end of the year and into this year, I've been standing up this branding arm of my photography. Right, I had spent the entire time focusing purely on physical artwork. Now I'm doing more branding for businesses. And the other thing is, from an artwork standpoint, I've set a goal of, I have done a lot of ballet sessions, but it's usually with like one or two dancers that I know that I've just to try it out. I want to photograph 10 new ballet dancers this year.
Okay. How about you, Linda? Have you set goals for 2025, and what's one of them?
Well, I live weekly on goals because, so for example, on December 30th, I said I'm doing dry January. So that was a goal. And let me tell you, when you go to social events and everybody has a cocktail and I'm standing there with my glass of water, so I made it through. So I was really proud of that. But last Saturday, I guess it was, I did break down and I had a glass of wine, but it wasn't as fun. So that's one of my goals, is to kind of slow it down, because unfortunately, as you get older, it's fun. It's like, if you have a drink, I have too many by accident, but it doesn't feel good the next day. So my goal is to keep that down, but just to keep being happy. I mean, I've learned that wine and the alcohol is not always, it just makes me happier. So just trying to keep that, but I goal every day. So that's just kind of how I live. But I find that if it's too big, then I end up not keeping it, or I forget about it, or it's short lived. Like Eagles. Like, we need them to win, right? That's a big goal. I don't want to be sad on Monday because they lost.
Exactly. All right. How
Right.
about you, Lisa? Are you a goal setter? And if so, what is one of your goals of this year?
I've never been a goal setter until this year. And I just kind of realized that will actually help me focus. And so my goal for this year, one of my favorite things is I have a program where I'm an author coach, and I will, walk somebody through getting their book written from idea to published page. And it's a very structured kind of thing. And my goal this year is to take that structured way of coaching people to write a book and creating an online course out of that. That's my goal for 2025.
Okay. So you're all happy, I can tell. But, where there's success and there's happiness. And I like to ask this question because I do think they're two different things. I think that, like happiness, I can sit there and I can hear my wife laughing in the other room at a TV show, and that makes me happy because she's happy. But success is completely different. And I think as we get older, those two things change. I mean, I know people who are very successful who are miserable. I mean, look at some of these great rock stars. They end up ODing because they're self-medicating because they're not happy. So we're going to start with you, Linda. To you, at this point in your life, what is success and what is happiness? And if you think they're the same thing, that's fine because there's no right or wrong answer. That's just my opinion. I think they're different. But Linda, what is success and what is happiness to you?
So I think happiness is something that is a feeling, an emotion of figuring out things every day. Because if my happiness, and this is what a lot of people do, my happiness is based on if the Eagles win, if I get a new job, when I buy my new car. And that's how a lot of people live. And then it's just so short-lived. And then what happens if that reality doesn't happen? And then you're disappointed. So happiness to me can never be based on a thing. It really has to come from within and being calm and how you look at life. So to me, success is always going to be a goal. So to me, success is more of a goal-based type of more of an action than it is a feeling. Because like you said, some people feel like my success, I will only be happy when I am successful. So I think it's two different pronouns. I think it's two different things. It's one's an action and one's an emotion.
Okay. How about you, Lisa?
Similar to Linda, that whole kind of conditional living that, okay, once I do this, I'll be happy, or once I do that, I'll feel, good about my life, is not happiness. That's just setting yourself up to be dependent on outcomes, dependent on the conditions. So I think to me, happiness is just being at peace with where I am in life. Being content and being at peace with where I am, with whatever is going on, whether it's a shit show or a celebration, just finding that golden mean and being at peace with that. And then success then would be, staying in that space, honestly. I don't think you have to have like something to be done to feel successful. I think, if at the end of the day, you're like, wow, had a pretty good day. I got nothing done, but I feel great. I'm successful.
All right. How about you, John?
I'm going to echo the sentiments because I went through that, right? So I was in architecture school, then I switched schools, switched majors, got a different degree. Then I was not happy doing that. So then I went back to school, got my architecture degree. That wasn't going to work out. So I went through in big life decisions of going back to school for years upon years, hoping that the next thing was going to be the thing. And that's just not how it works, right? Because you get to that point and there's a variety of different factors that affect your life. And so for me, happiness is truly just being in the day. Did I learn something today? Did I meet somebody new? Did I help somebody? Those things make me happy. They're activities. There's no grand outcomes to those things. It's just being in that space. And for success, it is doing that on a larger scale, right? So, I mean, look, I love what it is that I do. I would honestly do it for free, but that's not how I would survive. So I might as well charge as much as I can for it so that I could go travel and go study new things and do other stuff. Those are the types of things that are if I enjoy what I do, and I get to do the other stuff outside of that.
I would have been happy if I could have met you at McGillen's and then 30 Franks and Oscars, but you got plans, John.
Yeah,
So that
well,
I'm not going to be happy.
I'm photographing shelter dogs.
Okay.
I'm giving back to the community.
It's
Help
good. It's
dogs get
good.
adopted.
Screw the dogs. Let's go drink. No. Okay. So let's look back on 2024. And we'll start with Lisa. What's an accomplishment? It can be personal or professional. That you're very proud that you did in 2024. As I said, it doesn't have to be like I did this, but what's something that made you proud last year?
Published my son's book. He's a research analyst for the Federal Reserve, but he's 24 years old, and he was born an 80-year-old man, though, so he's a very old soul. And he wrote a book on his father's family history, tracing back to the, I think, 1700s. And did a phenomenal job with it. And I coached him through the end of it, and we successfully launched it in May. And that was like, even though it was his, it was like one of the most proudest things I've ever done. Yeah.
That's awesome. How about you, John? Something last year you're proud of, professional or personal?
So, I mean, this one's like, it's going to sound a little bit silly, but like I made a commitment around the summer that I was going to do two things. One, post to LinkedIn every day, every work day, and then start to have more one-to-one meetings with people in my network. And that kind of merged together where I started creating content around it. And like, I think I've had like 45 of these lunches like since then. And I go, look, the last Cocktails with Cooper, I had at least 3 people come up to me who I've never met before, be like, oh, I know you. Like, you're that guy who posts those cool person stories. And like, it's just kind of like it was something that just came to be. I didn't like necessarily go out with the intent of doing that, but I'm very proud of the fact that I'm sharing my network with other people, and I'm actually like making introductions for like about half of them. So it was like one of those silly things that just like happened to be like, worked out.
Well, I was very flattered I was included in that. You took a great picture. Everyone loved that picture. Everyone said, Steve, that could be your album cover. I was in front of Milk Boy with a T-shirt of a band called the Vibrators 2, which is my friend Nigel Bennett's band. They used to be in the members that were in England. And I had a cool hat on. And the picture came out great. It's like the door. So, yeah, I was a cool person. For one day, for Joe, for one day, I was a cool person. Linda, you have a lot going on. What's something in the last year in 2024, personal or professional, that you're very proud of? An accomplishment.
I think I'm going to be like Lisa and reflect on my daughter, because she's going to be 36 and she met a great guy and she got married and we love him. I mean, that to me is an accomplishment, and it was a lot of work. Anybody that's married off a child, especially a daughter, it is unbelievable. It's a lot of work, a lot of money, so much joy. So my biggest accomplishment has been to get through that financially, emotionally, and now we're just waiting for the littles to hopefully come along. So that would be my 2024.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know what? This is really good, because none of you were like, oh, I sold 10,000 widgets. You all did stuff that actually means something in self-growth, and that's cool. So let's say people watch this show and someone says, oh, well, I didn't know your guests. Okay. I didn't know, Linda. And I had to explain you. What is one personality trait you have that you're happy of and that you would want me to say? Like for me, someone said, oh, Steve's credible or Steve's funny. I go, oh, thanks. That means a lot to me. Linda, what's a part of your personality that you would want me to express to someone that sort of encapsulates you?
Can we put little lines between the words?
Sure.
But I would say that I am real. I'm excitable. I want what's best for you. I just am a exhilaration of just being. I don't know how to say it. Like if there's anything you need, I will help connect somebody. If you say I need a doctor, I will help you. Where do you get your nails done? I don't know. You have hair under there. Where do you get your hair cut or your hair Okay, there you go. So just that kind of connection, but with so much energy and excitement and heart.
Okay, and if you come to my next event and someone says, "Who's that? What do you know about her?" You can hold up a cue card, and I'll read all those things. It'll be perfect. I'll be like, "That's Linda. She's
Yeah.
excitable. She's this. That's perfect." We can have, and John, you can take a picture of it. We can all be cool. Lisa, something that you would want me to express to someone that doesn't know you.
Wow. I was hoping you would call on me last. I don't know. I think it's funny. Every time somebody says I'm quirky, I'm complimented, and I don't know if they mean it in a complimentary way. Um, Service-minded, funny, easygoing. That's me.
Okay. How about you, John?
Obviously, devilishly good looking. But no, I would say that like I would like people to think that I am engaging and genuine. Like when I'm talking with somebody, like I would want them to like understand that I'm really interested in what they have to say.
Okay, so let's reflect on our personalities. We know like what we say we want me to express and what you think is a great trait. What is something, and we'll start with you, Lisa, because you had to think about the last one. What is something that you know you need to improve on? Like me, it's people just irritate the shit out of me sometimes. I can't help it. And I have to get better at that because I have to. And that's why there's some people who aren't on the show because I can't stand them. Someone goes, they'd be a really good guest. I go, yeah, but I can't stand them. So I have to get better with getting to know people better and have them not irritate me. What's something that is something you have to improve on in your everyday life with your personality?
God, the same thing as with you. I am, I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but once you're like an ass, I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to work with you ever again." And I need to get past that. I want to be a little more accepting of assholes. Is that a thing? I don't know. But at least not have it bother me so much and move on.
Oh, I get irritated at commercials. I'm irritated right now at that bear that screams. I think it's in the Amazon commercial or and then Gus the groundhog. I've talked about this before. I got to turn the channel. That shit just irritates the hell out of me. And my wife's like, "What is wrong with you? It's not even real." She's like, "Why are you pissed off?" I'm like, "I don't know. It just gets me mad." This comes from my dad. My dad used to say, "I don't like that Jerry Seinfeld." I go, "Why?" He goes, "I don't like his face." I go, "Dad, but the show's great. He's funny." "Yeah, I don't like his face." So I'm losing my mind. Linda, something that you need to improve on.
Well, I am glad that hopefully I am part of the non-asshole club. So thank you. I would say probably sometimes my energy is a little bit high. So maybe just taking it down a little bit and containing that. Maybe sometimes just be a better listener because I get excited and I have a tendency to speak a little bit more than I listen. So personally, that's always something I am trying to be aware of.
Okay. How about you, John?
I used to joke that people would be amazed by the number of life decisions I've made purely out of spite. Because like I'm like with Steve, you were talking about like things that irritate you. I still to this day will not buy Energizer batteries because I felt that they let that bunny campaign go on far too long. I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, stop making these fake commercials. I'm done. I'm never buying your batteries ever again. And like to this day, I still don't. So that is, that kind of stubbornness. It's like, to what Lisa was saying, like learn to be more accepting, like as I, with some grace for other people, because I do. Once you've kind of like, once the sniff test doesn't work, like you're out. Like I will just cut you off.
That's like the old Seinfeld when he returns the jacket out of spite because he didn't like the salesman with the ponytail. So we're all out. We're all networking. We meet a lot of people, and that's what we do. This is how business is now. And people work off referrals, and we've all been burnt. We've all given a great referral and someone doesn't show up or someone does a crappy job. And then it always comes back to you. They don't get people who you refer them to don't get mad at the person who did the crappy job. They get mad at you because you said, "Oh, such and such is good." So what is Linda, what is something that some qualities a person needs for you to refer them? Because you're out networking all the time, and you probably meet, insurance people. You probably meet a plethora. You probably meet a ton of Medicare, Medicaid, whatever people. But what is it? What is it that characteristics someone has to have for you to refer them to a personal friend of yours or a trusted business associate of yours?
Well, first of all, they better have conversation going back and forth, because the worst thing is, did you ever meet somebody and they just come up and you say hello, and that's the last words you get out of the conversation, because all they are doing is talking about themselves. And that turns me off. I get turned off with a hard salesperson, because I really, if I'm referring, it's coming from my heart and it's my reputation. So you better possess the same work ethics, or is it a warm handoff? Like, do you feel the same way about people, your job, your passion for what you do? Then I will refer. But if you are part of that a-hole club, you are not going to be a referral of mine. So just real person, and I don't care what you sell or what you do, just be real, because that's the person that I want to deal with.
Okay. How about you, John?
I heard somebody like summarize it that, you do business with people like, and trust, right? And so I try to get to know people as best as possible. Liking, that's subjective based upon personality. So I kind of take that out of consideration. But trust is the big one. Like, do I know that they can do the job, and are they going to show up when it matters? And if I get that vibe from somebody, then I feel comfortable referring them. If I don't, if something just seems off from a flaky standpoint, like, I just won't send business their way, because it's a reflection on you if you say, hey. Or there have been times where I say, I have never dealt with this person professionally, just so you know. So, and I will preface that to the person that I'm referring, to say, I know that this person does this. I've never dealt with them professionally, so I can't attest for the quality of their work. I just know that they do that. So sometimes I'll put that caveat in when I do refer business, if it's, I don't have like somebody off the top of my head that I can send.
Okay. How about you, Lisa?
That trust factor is huge. If I try not to refer people to people that I barely know, just because I have been burned a couple of times with that whole trust factor, where I thought somebody was more capable or competent in their job than they were, and things didn't turn out so well. But so that is huge. I need to know that person, and feel comfortable that person is going to follow through on what they're doing.
Okay. I haven't in the last few weeks, I haven't bitched about LinkedIn, and I'm going to bitch about LinkedIn today. And y'all do good jobs. I see your stuff on LinkedIn, but I want to ask you, this is what's pitching me off right now. And that, not you, John, because you're a real photographer and you take pictures, but I never get when people sit there and they write this really long post, and it says, what I've learned and my takeaways. And then they have a picture of them like throwing their hat in the air, or like out in a pasture. Like, I'm thinking, do they have a photographer like following them around all day? Because it's like, these are professionally grade photos. Mm-hmm. And it irritates me, because I'm like, it looks so phony to me. Like, you're not going to be sitting there in the middle of the winter doing Marlo Thomas, that girl, and throwing your fucking hat in the air. That doesn't happen, okay? People don't do that. And you're not sitting there, with your kids, and all of a sudden, and I hate when they pawn their kids. Like, my kids don't know. What are you, Kathy Lee Griffith? What is this, Cody? I hate that. But that's what's pissing me off about LinkedIn. But what bothers you about LinkedIn? And we're going to start with you, Lisa, because you almost jumped out of your seat when I said LinkedIn. So what is bothering you about LinkedIn these days?
I have such a hating on all social media right now, so I could monopolize this whole podcast. What bothers me most about LinkedIn, and I'm barely there because it bothers me. There are a couple things. One, the algorithms. I had to disconnect from people to do what I do, because that was all LinkedIn was showing me. And I'm like, no, I'm here to be connecting with people who need business from me, or that I can provide business to them. I don't want to, have somebody doing the same thing I am and just be, congratulating you on your great post, and you congratulate me on my great post. That's my bitch number one. The algorithms suck. Bitch number two, the self-aggrandizing under this phony humbleness. Oh, I've been so honored to be the recipient of this award. Yet it's like, no, you're not. You're just, it just, I don't know. It just comes off as just so fake and so phony. And, I was able to help this customer do whatever. And it was this fabulous feat that I accomplished. And I'm like, your customer should be posting that about you, and it just turns me off to no end. I am, I mean, and I know I'm supposed to. I go on. I'm like, all right, I have this post now. I can't do it. It just put me in a bad mood. And I don't want to be in a bad mood when I post something. So I don't want to put that negative energy out there. So then I ignore it for a week and I'm like, oh shit, I need to post on LinkedIn again. And I go in and I'm like, oh my God, who are these people? I hate it.
Okay.
I just hate it.
All right, Linda. Now I like your post, Linda, because you show events, but you show real pictures. You have one. You're at these events, and that's what you do. I like realism, and you post very realism, Linda. You're not like sitting there. It's not you sitting there with a mink stole, drinking champagne, going, "Oh, this event was amazing." You're honest. So, what is it? Something that bothers you about LinkedIn?
It's kind of social media in itself. I feel like there's these folks on LinkedIn. Well, first of all, I've never gotten so many requests from people selling me stuff on LinkedIn. And it's just not real. And I just feel like people are trying to sell me something. That's number one. And I feel like they have these people out there that are life coaches, or LinkedIn does it too, where they go, we're going to teach you how to get more people to respond to your business. And then everybody does the same thing. And you're right. And Lisa, you're right. It's like, I can't stand watching most of this stuff. But the problem is that's the way business is going. Like, we are going on social media and these TikTok platforms and all of these, especially, what's the other? I wouldn't want to say Amazon. What's the I want?
Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. That's squirrel number 12. He doesn't think real well. But all of these platforms, and it's hard because the young kids get it. But as you get older, like, we're trying to adapt. That's not what we grew up with, and trying to figure out how to put your statements out there. But I think the thing most that annoys me is those fake people that pretend either they're your friend or they're going to try to sell you something. And the format of it, you can see it. It goes in stages of what people do on LinkedIn, and then it will shift. Somebody will do something. And you're right. Does anybody read anything past like 3 lines? Like, the people that put like their entire story on there, I go, blah, 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 blah. I don't even look at it. Like, people really think, do you really care? Do we, any of us, really care about all of that stuff on there on a person we don't really know? Just go on.
How about you, John? Because I like your post too, because you do the cool person post, and you do a little montage. It's not all about you, and they're real, and plus you're a professional photographer. So if you're taking a picture, it makes sense, and maybe you can get a job following one of these people when they're sitting there on a surfboard talking on their cell phone, going, "Hey man, I closed 87 deals and I did a good rip curl." So,
well, I think LinkedIn is falling into the same. Some of the same pitfalls that other social media applications have in the past, right? Instagram was a big one for this, and then you start to see with TikTok, where you start to get the rise of the influencer culture, where all they're doing is influencing each other, right? It's this cycle of I have noticed this, where you make a couple connections, and then I try to actually have a connection. Let's have a conversation. I want to learn more about you. And I've had people oh, I'm not taking any meetings right now, but they're on LinkedIn all day. And I'm like, well, then you're not actually you just want followers, like you want fans. And that's fine. Or if you're making money off just having fans on LinkedIn, then let's see it. But I think that there's this notion that I have to accumulate as many people as possible rather than really connecting with people who I can do business with and finding out who those people are. So I'm starting to see it become more and more where I think follower counts and like counts and impression counts are really starting to change people's brain chemistry for the worse.
All right. I actually saw someone, they added me on LinkedIn, and I looked at their Facebook page, and they had 1 million followers. And I was like, wow, I know a few people stars that I've interviewed that have that kind of following. So I look on their Facebook page, they have 1 million followers, but their posts are getting 6 likes. And I'm like, that's impossible. You bought your followers. Like, even like, I mean, I do these reviews of albums when they came out, and I get like 900 likes on these from people I don't know. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? And I have, I only have, I have 5,000 or 6,000 followers on Facebook. But these people have 1 million, and they get 6. Anyway, you all been great today. We're giving up to the last question. This is our final question of the day, and this is one that I'm very interested in what you're going to say. Someone comes up to you, and then it's interesting because both Lisa and Linda, you talked about your kids publishing your son's book, and then your daughter getting married. But if someone comes up to you, they could be any age. Okay, they've been getting out in the business world, or restarting their life, or just going through a change, and they look at you for wisdom, to give them answers, like in a mentor role. They come to you and said, what do I need to, either succeed or do well in life? What's advice you would give them? John, what is some advice you'd give someone who comes up to you and goes, man, what's the answers to this?
I tell, and I've done this with like friends, kids, like at different stages of their life, like you have to make sure that you learn how to learn, because the only thing that is a constant is that everything's going to change. Could be your career, could be the conditions around you, could be your life. If you're able to learn something new and then adapt to the change, like at one point there was no internet. Now now we're talking via our computers, right? And then it's AI. And it says like you're gonna have to learn how to learn these things, or you're just gonna be left behind. And not to be committed to, I have to do this thing. Tomorrow you could decide you're going to do something completely different. I did, and it's fine because I learned how to do something new and I moved on to that. So
Okay.
that's my advice for everybody. It's like never be afraid to evolve and put yourself in a position to do it successfully.
Okay. How about you, Lisa?
I always tell them be flexible, and you have to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise it's just not worth it, regardless of how much money you make.
Okay. How about you, Linda?
Well, I agree with John about open to change. I think you just have to have a passion for what you do, because if you don't, it definitely comes across to people. So those would be my two. And I think just going back to the old fashioned of relationships, I think we've gotten away from that with a lot of social media. And you can walk in somewhere and I look around and I always watch who's on their phone. And I just watch these people always on their phone. And I worry about the next generation. I sound like an old person now, of kids coming up, because I feel like the social skills are just so obsolete. And is that even going to happen? So definitely being open to change, just having a passion for what you do, and just go back to the old fashioned of like looking somebody right in the eye and just being real.
Okay. Well, this has been great. People, John, how can people get in touch with you?
I'm on everything. So Instagram and TikTok, I'm at John_Cruice. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a Facebook page, John Cruice Photography. My website is johncruise.com. So any one of those channels, you can get a hold of me.
And it's a C, not an S, people. It's a C, not an S for cruise.
Yes.
Yeah. Lisa, how can people get in touch with you?
I would say I'm on all social media channels, but if you try to connect with me there, I might not notice for a week or two, because I'm not really on there. But you can find me at lisashiroff.com or at Tasfil, TASFIL.com.
Okay. And how about you, Linda?
Well, when you first asked it, the funny thing I would always say when somebody says, how do I get a hold of you? And we always say our numbers on the back of the bathroom door, every bathroom door you go into. But Linda LA on Facebook, and Linda Amorosia, AMOROSIA, on other social media posts.
So people reach out to all of them. You can get in touch with me at the Coop Tank at yahoo.com. Go onto YouTube and check out past episodes of the Coop Tank. Rate them, subscribe. It's a great show. You get a lot of insight. Also, while you're on YouTube, you can check out my other show, one of my other shows, Coop's Comedy Corner. It's my weekly. I talk to friends of mine from the entertainment industry, comics. I know we talk about the craft. This week I'll be having Kate Flannery from The Office on. I've known her for a while. So look up the Coop's Comedy Corner, or go to my website, coopertalk.net, to hear my other show, Cooper Talk. There's over 1,000 episodes on, and next week you can listen to that great singer Gino Vanelli. I had a great hour chat with him last week. Also, don't forget Joe Gangemi SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com. If you need your podcast produced, if you need a place to record it, if you want a live streaming event, Joe does a ton of stuff. Also, if you need a moderator, I'm moderating a few events coming up, one for the Gloucester Chamber of Commerce and one for Business Committee of South Jersey. I moderate this. Just think how good I do in person. And so reach out to me. I have a few comedy shows coming up. So I'm Steve Cooper. I want to thank you for all watching. Follow these my guests today. Go Eagles. That's right. Go Eagles. We see the Super Bowl victory. Eagles. All right. You have a great weekend. Talk to you next week.